happened to this place?
Follow me. I have a wife. She's here. But I don't know where.
All right, and aloha headsets, Frankie Boy here, and I have Chris Bashaar from Aspire Media, and they are the wonderful people that have brought us Torn on PlayStation VR, HTC Vive, and Oculus Rift. Now, Chris, can you tell me a little bit about this game for people that don't know?
Yeah, thanks for introducing me, Frank. It's great to be here today. My name is Chris Bashaar. I'm from Aspire Media. I do marketing and comms here. So, Torn is our Black Mirror-inspired VR game. So, without revealing too much, you wake up in the woods, you look at this awesome 60s kind of Doctor Who-styled mansion, and you walk in, and then the story unfolds from there. And that's pretty much it.
All right, so Chris, you guys got some really awesome team members for this one, and you got some big names on the project. Did you reach them out? Did they reach out to you? One of my big things was you got Susan O'Connor to write it, and was the game kind of built around what she wrote, or did you guys already have some kind of idea already there?
So there's a few elements there. So one, we knew we wanted to do something in VR, and we knew we wanted to do something with NVIDIA's Flex technology, which you just played the game. That's what powers Talbot, the curtains, a lot of cloth in the game, the cobwebs, all that's NVIDIA's.
So nice.
Yeah, that's NVIDIA's Flex technology. It's experimental. It's new. I think we're the first VR game to use it. We might be I don't know if we're the first game on the market to use it, but we really wanted to use that technology in VR. Susan's actually local to Austin, and I think she even teaches some classes around here. And Aspire historically has been huge. We've been huge BioShock fans. We actually brought BioShock Infinite to Mac. So going for her was a no-brainer. So we brought her in pretty early in the project to say, hey, here's like a basic concept. We really are into Twilight Zone and Black Mirror. What can you do to bring this to the next level? And so much of that story is her, and it's crazy where it ends up at the end, and we're really happy with it, and I think you were too.
Oh, dude, I love it. It's awesome. Yeah. So you guys, I was looking into the website and everything. You're traditionally kind of like publishers, right? You don't do as much development. What pushed you to make like a VR game or develop a VR game? I love it, but that's always my main question.
We always looked at it as, we're big on data and experiments. Like, let's run an experiment. Can we bring a title to market from point A to point B to point C? We've done publishing, we've done porting, and this is just another challenge for us to tackle, and it's really exciting to see that we can do it. We can take an idea from just pencil and paper and whiteboard, and we can bring it all the way to here it is in the storefront. Let's send the keys out, and let's see what people think of it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. No. I think it's great. I think you guys did a great job, especially for like a first VR title coming from you. It looks great. It looks great on PC. It looks great on PlayStation. Oh, dude, I love it. But my thing was, how was it getting it on PlayStation? Was it a difficult process? I mean, was it hard making this game, or were you? I know you were expecting a challenge, but how was it?
So Unreal is a really, really powerful engine. Flex is really, really powerful technology. But as you know, we have a lot of objects in the game. So definitely in the optimization, there's been a ton of work in how do we make this game run on a min spec, how do we make it run on a PS4, how do we make it run on a PS4 Pro, and working through all of those stages. It does take some time, and it can be challenging, especially when it's like we have so much cool stuff we want to do. How do we make it happen, and how do we make that experience feel really good regardless of what platform you're playing on, and how do we really make you feel like you're walking into your own episode of Black Mirror? So really it comes more so in the optimization phase. I think is definitely the biggest challenge, but we still got a lot of objects in those rooms. There's a lot of stuff you can play with.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that it was on Unreal. I forgot about that completely because it's just to the title screen. But a lot of VR devs use Unity, so I agree. The Unreal VR games look so nice, and it looked so great. And my big thing is the story. So the story is the big thing behind this one. And how long did it take to come up with this story? Was it overnight? Have you guys been working on it for a long time? I love it. It's nice. You know what I mean? I think that's
there's whiteboarding and scripting, and we went through a lot of script revision processes, and we pass it around the company and get feedback, and Susan has been fantastic at providing edits and writing out those core story beats and making dialogue changes. And then there were more changes as we record the dialogue to make sure it really feels right, because on paper and once you get the actors and the actresses, you got to make sure it feels perfect. But we also just have a fair amount of experience with narrative, Layers of Fear, an Observer. We definitely have a little bit of an ear for like, this feels good. This feels good moment to moment. This feels good as we're playing through it. We really feel like we're deep and we're invested in these characters and what they do. So it's awesome that we can take that same kind of a similar experience to a Layers of Fear, add a few more elements and bring it to VR and really immerse people in a thriller, Black Mirror, sci-fi anthology experience.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. And a lot of people, when I first brought it out, they were like, "Is it scary?" And I was like, "It's not scary, so you don't have to worry about." Because I think they're worried like Resident Evil 7 style, they're gonna get things thrown out at them, and it's not that at all. It's just got like a nice like, oh wow, like it messes with your mind, and that's what I love in a game. And it was on the tip of my tongue. I love Talbot. I was gonna say even with the dialogue, you know what I mean? Instead of a lot of people are used to cutscenes for their story, or they're used to like audio logs hidden somewhere, and instead he kind of like feeds you the story as you're going through the game, and I really enjoyed that because it didn't waste your time in VR. It didn't make you just stand in one spot and you're like awkward. You can kind of move around while you're still learning, and I thought that was great. I love that about virtual reality, that you don't have to stop the action.
What'd you think of all the tilt brush paintings?
Were all the paintings tilt brush paintings?
They were all tilt brush.
Oh,
all
the
parallel stuff was drawn in tilt brush.
Oh, I didn't even. Now it makes sense. But dude, that's I love that. I didn't even think that you mixed the. Dude, that's so cool. Yeah, that's hitting my head right now. That's nuts. So they use, if you guys don't know what Tilt Brush is, it's a VR painting app, and so when you're in the other, what do you guys call it? You call it the Warp World?
The parallel.
The parallel. Then all the little areas around you and everything that comes in was made in that app, which is nuts. So you like use VR to make VR, which is, I love that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's like, who would have thought these tools? Because you see them and it's kind of like, hey, that's a cool demo, proof of concept. Like, there's a great if you don't know what tilt brush is, look up Disney tilt brush. They did a great Little Mermaid painting. The original artist of Little Mermaid kind of sketches out everything in tilt brush. It's that sort of art, and it dynamically loads in as Talbot reveals more and more about the story. And yeah, my friend actually did all this, so I'll be sure to forward that on. He's gonna be super pumped.
Yeah, it's cool. Hell, man, shout out. Like, I love that, and I really liked. At one point, I was walking around, and there were like flowers and stuff, kind of like blooming at my feet in the world, and that was nuts. That was nice. It was a little touch, you know what I mean? Which is glorious. Yeah. And I like that you could grab the little like floating orb, you know what I mean? Pull him around and play with him. That kept me busy like half the time when I was in there, just like joking around with that thing, putting it in my head.
All flex, man. That's all flex.
Oh,
like,
dude,
it's great technology.
It's
great
technology. I had no idea. That's crazy. And honestly, I didn't put the live stream up, but I spent 10 minutes when you first walk in and you go in a little office through those curtains. I spent 10 minutes just moving the curtains around. It's beautiful, man, and it's really immersive. Like it's nuts, man. It was like fabric laying in front of me.
I will say that's definitely something that's tough in VR, is to really make it feel right. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you did it, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It takes a lot of time and a lot of play testing to make sure it feels right. And it seemed like I always have gone by the motto of find the fun. Like, game design is really tough because you could tell a programmer, like, I need a system to do this. It's really hard to find a game designer who can find the fun, and like, you have a gun and you can shoot things, or you have a katana and you can slice things. Like, how do you take the idea of, like, I want to make a rhythm game in VR where you hit things, but how do you make that Beat Saber? Yeah. And I think that's what makes something like that so brilliant, is they really found that, like, perfect visceral feeling of when you hit a note, it feels right. So it's great to hear that you're playing with the curtains, because it's a minor touch, but it's
and I had that feeling. I was looking at them while I was at it, and I was like, I have a feeling somebody spent hours and hours doing this. And I recorded myself saying that, and I'm sure not everybody's gonna stop and just like play with them, but dude. Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. And imagine when we have haptic gloves, how cool that's gonna be, just like touching little things like that. Oh, I can't wait for that little future. Have you guys played around with any kind of haptics? I know we're off topic, but what do you think about that kind of stuff?
I haven't yet, but I've heard of the Knuckles. I haven't played with them or seen them. I actually watch Valve News Network because he was.
He gets a lot, dude. Yeah, he's good. He's
yeah.
good.
I mean, it looks really cool because I think the more you get that visceral feeling in the gallery, one thing that really stood out to me when, like, the first couple of VR experiences I ever played, one was the gallery, and when you touched a piece of paper, it would just have a little vibration when you pushed it, just a little,
just enough to make it feel like it was there. Yeah, the gallery's good.
You know, mind blowing that experience to say, like, wow, I really feel like I'm interacting with something in this 3-dimensional space, and as much as possible, we try to make it feel right. You know, even to the point of when you turn your head and how wide is this room and how tall are things, and it's hard to get that to feel right. And I'm pretty happy where we landed, but I'm sure there's still a million different ways that we could just optimize just that little bit more to make it perfect. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? There's always, I feel like you're gonna every day I find something wrong with, like, the video I did the day before. So, but
yeah.
You guys have done a killer job. And my thing was, were you with PlayStation? Because PlayStation VR is not, like, normally included in launch. It's normally kind of like the afterthought, or maybe like a month or two down the line. Were you guys planning for that since day one?
Yeah, day one, PSVR was on the map. It was an active concern,
okay.
And that's, like, from a business perspective, that just goes to install base, really. I mean, if it's the largest VR market, surprisingly, is PSVR. Like, it's in by quite a margin, and it's you know, we have a lot of experiences dealing with you know, Linux, which is I think usually Mac and Linux are about 10 to 15% of any given game share, and it varies a little bit there. That's a pretty, like, fair estimate, 10 to 15%. Usually VR, all of Steam is, I think, a fourth of Linux by itself, and it's kind of crazy to think it's such a small market because it is so much fun, it is so engaging, and there is a lot of, like, independent developer content coming out for VR, just because there's so many cool experiments that you can run there. But yeah, we knew day one we wanted to be on PSVR, and it was important, and we've been really happy with Sony supporting us and helping us find a way to come to launch. And it was great that we got to launch the same day as 2 other VR games and really have this really nice gambit of content with Bout of Blood and Firewall. So if you're looking for online multiplayer, you have that. If you're looking for offline single player, you have that. If you're looking for different art styles, from photorealistic to fantastical to
it was a nice punch, you know what I mean?
It was great. Yeah. It was awesome. And so, you know, we're really happy that we got to be kind of put up on this pedestal with these other great titles as well. So it's been really fun, honestly.
One big thing, all right, that hit me about the game is that it really. So now I want to go into, like, spoiler territory. So we're just gonna announce that.
Spoilers.
So,
spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Big alerts. So one big thing that hit me is, like, the end of the game. You know what I mean? Like, so you found out. I don't want to say too much, but you find out a whole lot from, like, that last end scene, which is pretty much the only cutscene in the entire game. And that's one thing that I worry people aren't gonna, like, appreciate their drive towards. You know what I mean? Like, they might get halfway, because I know a lot of people with VR games, if you look at trophy list, and it sucks to say, but they'll play like 50% of a game, and then a new game comes out and they hop onto that one. And this is one of those, you just got to get in it and just got to play through it, you know what I mean, and get to the end. And then when I got to the end, I was like, oh my god, I got to play again, because I immediately could, like, feel the connections. And when I was in the parallel, there were actually, like, the other players' thoughts, you know what I mean? Like, I made the actual, like, oh wow, it all made sense. I just had no idea, which was cool. You know, that's that trigger that makes you want to play a game all over again. And I think you guys have that for a story-driven. It's the first VR story-driven that was like, I gotta play again just to see, like, what I missed because I didn't know, which was nice. And
It goes back to two concerns, and what that is one concern we did have is, like, you're working towards this big reveal. You know, if you look at data, years ago I watched a video by Yahtzee, and his thing was 20% of people finish a game that purchase it day one, and I don't have actual data on that, but I'm sure it's something like that, if not less than that, just because there's so many games. So we knew that the number of people who are going to make it all the way to the end is going to be a fraction of the audience, because that's what happens with any game, even a single-player game. So that's definitely a concern, and we tried to leave a little bit of a breadcrumb trail, but not too much. And then from a design standpoint, I think we did take a pretty big risk at the end to say, this is VR, this is your experience, and we're going to take away movement from you.
Yeah.
We're strapping you to a table, and are you willing to submit?
You have to crane your neck. Yeah, to
Right.
actually like look at the guy watching, and I remember thinking that like, oh, they're getting me to like crane my neck, and and I tried to reset my camera, and it was like, nope, that's what you got to do. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that.
I think it was a risky move, and I'm glad to hear that it paid off. I mean, for sure, from a design perspective, it's something we looked at, like, how do we do this effectively, and do we feel good about this? And it is a risk, and we went for it. Sometimes you just got to go for it, and I'm glad to hear that it did that, because when you're in this position, I know we said spoilers. Let's say spoilers again.
Yeah.
When you're in this position and you find out the secret of the mansion and who Talbot really is and where you really are, you're strapped in. Like, we're taking control. We're putting you in this Black Mirror ending where you do not have control. Technology is control. You are a victim of the technological world. Like, we are putting you there, and we are strapping you in. Deal with it. And it's scary in a lot of ways. And I think some people that could be a little traumatic for. Hopefully, it's not too triggering.
Too real. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But it is a situation where you are in that. If you're willing to submit to an experience, there is an experience for you. Like,
100%.
you're on an interrogation table,
Yeah.
boom, like in your face, and you're strapped down, and someone else is in control, and you can move around the room, I guess, in theory. But I feel like a lot of people are going to be kind of frozen in that fight or flight mentality. Like, what's going on?
Like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is this now? Yeah, especially because I was really expecting to go back to the mansion for at least a second, but it was just like, boom. Yeah, which was not. And there was my question. So story-wise, when you're in the parallel, is that kind of like the subconscious interrogation time? Like, is that's the time when you're kind of like revealing more about yourself, as Patterson's revealing more about herself, kind of, and like agreeing to things, and that's when more of like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the room was more of like all the rooms were kind of a projection of the mental rooms, and then the parallel was actually like when he kind of pulled her out of that like mental state and was more like, that's when the interrogation happened in like reality, not within the thing. Was that kind of the idea, or am I missing something?
I think that's pretty much it. I really like the idea of unlocking. So as you're feeding lights, you're feeding information, you're feeding neurons. You're letting yourself unlock, and then feeding these little bits of information. Like, give me these open. You're finding keys, essentially.
Yeah.
Unlocking doors, and then revealing that information to Talbot and feeding him. Now he remembers. What is he remembering?
Yeah.
He's taking your memories from you, and he's restating them to you. But really, those are your memories that you're giving to him. So I think you're dead on. That's the interrogate. That is really the interrogation phase of what information does Talbot need to get what he needs, and you're just giving it to him the whole game, and you don't realize what you're doing.
No, not at all. Yeah,
until it's way too late.
Especially with like the puzzles. So I saw some people that are like, "Why am I like putting all this random furniture around and making these connections?" And like, yeah, if you don't know that you're like in your own head or in a mind, really, like when you're in the house, you're like, "Why the hell am I just sticking stuff all over the house?" I mean, it's cool. Like, I just thought to begin with, honestly, I was like, I just like putting clocks in places they don't need to be. I was like, I'm gonna put a computer right there, and it was that was my fun to it. I was like, oh, this would be like my house if I could really do what I wanted to do.
I mean, and that was one internal debate we had too about the box art, because the box art is that final like aha moment. Like, the whole game is on the box. The whole story, the whole mystery is solved. It's right in front of your face.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I looked at the picture again, like when I made my thumbnail for the review, and I was like, ugh.
I love that. It's such a final, like, we told you, we gave you all the pieces, but without the context of what's going on, they don't make sense. And I haven't heard anyone get the story before, which maybe we didn't give it enough, but maybe that's just perfect. Because I love the idea of that grand reveal, and then you close the game, you look at the box art, and you go, oh my god.
Yeah, no, it got me right when I made the thumbnail.
I thought it was a cool box art.
You did good. No, it's great. It was awesome, box art. And I like the mansion picture that's for like most of the like trailer stuff too, because that like gets you ready for that like, ooh, I get to go into an awesome house. And that was my idea. I was like, oh, I get to go into this house of this like crazy doctor that like I don't know if I can trust him. And even when I went in, the first like 3 times I went into the parallel, I commented and I was like, I don't know if I trust you, Mr. Talbot, but whatever. But by like the 5th or 6th time, I was like, okay, dude, I'm ready to help you. Like, let's save this lady. You know what I mean? I was like invested a little bit, and it was good. And you did a great job.
Yeah, it's a mission to save his wife, but really you're saving her in a certain sense, and some could say you're destroying yourself to save someone. It's a weird way to look at vengeance, but
and it's like a scary like what's that movie with Tom Cruise, like Vanilla Sky kind of like dystopian future for like interrogations, because I could be in one right now, God only knows, you know what I mean, which is yeah.
Well, soon. Just tell me more. Tell me more, Frank.
I know, right. We're almost there, which is great. But Chris, I'm actually running out of time a little bit, and I learned so much about the game, and I think it's so awesome. And is there anything you want to add before we go?
I would just say, we're always looking for feedback. Shoot us a note at Aspire Media on Twitter. If you want to know more about the game, tornvr.com. We're available on PlayStation as well as Steam VR and Oculus. And you know what? If you want to know more about the game, hopefully you skip the spoiler parts and spoilers here.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If you want to know more about the game, check out Frank's review. It's very positive, so I would recommend you check it out. But he does a good job, I think, of showing you the mechanics, what to expect, and honestly, sub this dude. Are you not subbed yet? Because you need to be. So
I mean, come on, no.
Sub PSVR Frank.
All right, but thank you all for coming through. As always, if you want to stay up to date on everything PlayStation VR, and you don't mind this ugly mug, friggin' subscribe. I mean, come on. Smooches to you too, Chris.
Monday through Friday.
Frank Show.
Monday through Friday.
Frank Show. Body on YouTube. Body on Frank Show. Body on YouTube. Body on Frank Show.
And that's how you do an outro.
I know that's the dough.